All right, Nick, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. I'll say it, one of the hottest teams in football right now, probably the favorites out of the NFC to make that deep playoff push to the Super Bowl. And when you're that high on the horse, when you're that hot coming into games, coming up against a team that is 1-5 can kind of be a trap. But the Lions, they have a really good mentality coming into this game against the Tennessee Titans that I think they deserve a lot of credit for. I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, the Lions coming in, they are 5-1, very hot team right now, coming up against a Tennessee Titans squad that's 1-5. Not looking so good for the Titans right now, but the Lions, they can't think that they're going to bowl them over and just run straight through, and they can look on to next week's game because we all know any given Sunday, anything can happen on the field, and the Lions have a great mentality matching just that. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from the Detroit Free Press. It says at 5-1, the Detroit Lions are one of the best teams in the NFL. And at 1-5, the Tennessee Titans are one of the worst. But when the two teams meet Sunday at Ford Field, Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn said his defense can't overlook a Titans team that reminds him of his first season in Detroit. Listen, this is an opponent in this league. Records don't matter, Glenn said. You could get your ass kicked at any given time, and we understand that because we were in Tennessee's shoes before. We were the team that we were out for blood every week, and I know this team feels the same way. I think that's the perfect mentality for Aaron Glenn to have, knowing that this team is where they want them to be right now. This team is doing really well, but also retrospectively being able to look back and say, hey, I remember just a few years ago, we were this Titans team, and we were looking to ruin people's seasons. We're looking to play spoiler now. I think this is exactly what this Titans team is capable of. Glad Aaron Glenn can identify that. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Lions fans, in the comments section below, we're talking Lions, we're talking Titans. Is it a trap game? Does Detroit have the right mentality? Let us know what you think the final score of this game is going to be in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about Aaron Glenn's comments on this Titans-Lions matchup?
It's 100% the perfect approach. And I give a lot of credit to Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson. They get a lot of credit, deservedly so in a lot of reasons. But Aaron Glenn, in my opinion, is the underrated guy driving this Lions team in terms of what he brings attitude-wise. Obviously, as a defensive coordinator, defensive play caller, what he's done for that defense deserves a lot of credit as well. They're at the top or very near the top in terms of PFF rankings for the defensive side of the football. But the mentality Aaron Glenn is approaching here is absolutely perfect. And you know this, Mize, and people that regularly watch this channel know my biggest gripe with Dan Campbell and the Lions is and I think Johnson's the same way as the OC, they perpetually see themselves as the underdog, but they're not anymore. They're the favorite. They're the best team in football right now by anyone's vote right now. If the Lions aren't number one, they're usually number two right now in the National Football League, in anyone's opinion, right? They are the favorite to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, basically across the board. They're playing great football. Last year, of course, they went to the NFC title game, should have won that one on the road. They look even better this year. They're relatively healthy, certainly on offense. Aiden Hutchinson's injury and a few other guys on defense stinks. But overall, big picture, they are in a phenomenal position. They are not the underdog. They are the big time favorite. And you have to think of yourself as that because that allows you to view teams like the Tennessee Titans from the lens of this is a trap game opportunity. We can't fall into it. One of the dirty secrets, and this was when I played college football. I didn't play NFL, obviously played small time college football. But one of the things that can happen if you don't understand if you're a good team, we had 1 year in college where we were ranked, we were doing a lot of really good things, but we kind of still treated ourselves as the feisty underdog. And then we lost one game. It didn't really hurt us. We were like, well, we're still the underdog. We didn't have that winner's mentality. We didn't have the ability to really understand that if we want to be a contender, we got to treat ourselves as a contender and recognize we're better than other teams and should beat them. And that's exactly what Aaron Glenn is bringing to the fold here. He understands that this Lions team is better than basically anyone else going to play on their schedule all year long, bar none. Just defense versus offense here, Detroit to Tennessee. I think the Lions have the personnel advantage and maybe of the 11 starting positions at 8, maybe 9, heck, maybe even 10 when it's all said and done. They're so much better than the Tennessee Titans. At this point, it's about focus and execution. And one way to get your guys focused is to basically say, listen, You can't lose this game. You are the favorite. You got to go out and execute as if you're the favorite. You are the champ. You're the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world right now. You got to treat yourself like that. Don't treat yourself like a scrappy underdog, because guess what? Scrappy underdogs, they lose a lot of the time. You know who doesn't lose a lot of the time? The favorites. How much do the Chiefs lose these days? How much do the Patriots lose for the better part of 2 decades? You're the favorites now, Detroit. It's time to act like it, and that's exactly what Aaron Glenn's bringing here, and I love to see it.
Yeah, and again, I think you bring up a great point because you can't really identify a trap game when you're the favorite if you think you're the underdog, if you think you're coming into that game as not the favorite. So I think it's really a great mentality to have by this Aaron Glenn led team. And this is good because you are playing the AFC South this year. And unfortunately for the AFC South, there's a lot of really bad teams in that division right now. The Texans are good, but you look at the Colts, not so great. Another opportunity for a trap game. The Jaguars, again, not a really good team. Another opportunity for a trap game. So in your next 5 games, 3 of those teams are we have mentioned, the Titans, the Jaguars, and the Colts are in those next games. So you have to come out, like you said, with that. We're not the underdog anymore. We are top dog. We are number one. We gotta, everyone's looking, because I guarantee you, Jaguars probably aren't going to make the playoffs. Colts probably aren't going to make the playoffs. Titans probably aren't going to make the playoffs. These are teams that now see the Lions. This is the top team in the NFL. The target is on your back. Their season would be made if they could beat the Lions. They're probably going to be in the running for a high draft pick, but that is, the next best thing for them. Can we beat one of the better teams? Can we get that moral victory? Can we beat the Lions? So if you can't realize, hey, we're the top dogs, everyone's going to be gunning for us, you're going to be in for a surprise when these teams pull out all the stops, do all of the grandeur and allure just to try to beat you. So I think this is a great mentality by Aaron Glenn and this Lions team to say, hey, we need to, the last couple weeks, we've been playing like underdogs. We need to realize we're now the top dog, and we have to look out because everyone is coming for us now.
And yeah, just to kind of refocus this message here a little bit, just the point to end on, it's not being arrogant, it's understanding reality and being accountable to it, right? If you're a Super Bowl contender, which the Lions obviously are, you got to act like a Super Bowl contender week in and week out. And that's what the Lions mindset needs to be. That's what Aaron Glenn is treating this team as. They're treating him as a Super Bowl contender. Like you alluded to, Mize, guess what? Mediocre teams, average teams, they don't play trap games. Only Super Bowl contenders find themselves in trap games. That's the approach Aaron Glenn is taking with this defense. I hope it's the approach for this entire football team, because if they can adopt the mentality that they're the favorites, they're the Super Bowl contender, and hold themselves accountable to it, they won't be happy with the old school moral victories. They won't be happy with, making the NFC title game and be, oh gosh darn it, we fell a little short. They will only be happy when they achieve their full potential, which they should do, which is going to the Super Bowl and probably winning it. Having that mentality of a favorite is what the Chiefs had. It's what the Patriots had. It's led them to greatness. If the Lions can adopt that wholesale, they'll find themselves among that group very shortly.